19. Jane is going in to see the Roma fortune teller who has appeared at Thornfield. Blanche doesn't seem too happy about what this lady told her. The other girls say that she's astonishingly accurate, and Jane is very curious, naturally, to see what this is all about. The library looked tranquil enough as I entered it, and the Sibyl, if Sibyl she were, was seated snugly enough in an easy chair at the chimney corner. She had on a red cloak and a black bonnet, or rather, a broad-brimmed gypsy hat tied down with a striped handkerchief under her chin. An extinguished candle stood on the table. She was bending over the fire and seemed reading in a little black book, like a prayer book, by the light of the blaze. She muttered the words to herself, as most old women do, while she read. She did not desist immediately on my entrance. It appeared she wished to finish her paragraph. I stood on the rug and warmed my hands, which were rather cold with sitting at a distance from the drawing-room fire. I felt now as composed as I ever did in my life. There was nothing, indeed, in the gypsy's appearance to trouble one's calm. She shut her book and slowly looked up. Her hat brim partially shaded her face, yet I could see as she raised it that it was a strange one. It looked all brown and black. Elf locks bristled out from beneath a white band which passed under her chin and came half over her cheeks, or rather jaws. Her eye confronted me at once with a bold and direct gaze. "Well, and you want your fortune told?" she said, in a voice as decided as her glance, as harsh as her features. "I don't care about it, Mother. You may please yourself, but I ought to warn you, I have no faith." "It's like your impudence to say so. I expected it of you. I heard it in your step as you crossed the threshold." "Did you? You've a quick ear." "I have, and a quick eye, and a quick brain." "You need them all in your trade." "I do, especially when I have customers like you to deal with." "Why don't you tremble?" "I'm not cold." "Why don't you turn pale?" "I am not sick." "Why don't you consult my art?" "I'm not silly." The old crone nickered a laugh under her bonnet and bandage. Then she drew out a short black pipe and, lighting it, began to smoke. Having indulged a while in the sedative, she raised her bent body, took the pipe from her lips, and while gazing steadily at the fire, said very deliberately, "You are cold, you are sick, and you are silly." So Jane says that she's none of those things because she doesn't quite believe in the woman's fortune telling. She's a skeptic of all of this. "Prove it," I rejoined. "I will, in few words. You are cold because you are alone. No contact strikes the fire from you that is in you." And again, watch out for that fire imagery in this novel. "You are sick because the best of feelings, the highest and the sweetest given to man, keeps far away from you. You are silly because, suffer as you may, you will not beckon it to approach, nor will you stir one step to meet it where it waits you." She again put her short black pipe to her lips and renewed her smoking with vigor. "You might say all that to almost anyone who you knew lived as a solitary dependent in a great house." "I might say it to almost anyone, but would it be true of almost anyone?" "In my circumstances." "Yes, just so, in your circumstances, but find me another precisely placed as you are." So Jane's kind of arguing with her. She's saying anyone in her position, so anyone who's a governess, would feel those same sensations of loneliness and being kind of isolated. "It would be easy to find you thousands. You could scarcely find me one. If you knew it, you are peculiarly situated. Very near happiness, yes, within reach of it. The materials are all prepared. There only wants a movement to combine them. Chance laid them somewhat apart. Let them be once approached and bliss results. I don't understand enigmas. I never could guess a riddle in my life. If you wish me to speak more plainly, show me your palm. And I must cross it with silver, I suppose?" "To be sure." So, the woman wants to read Jane's palm to tell her fortune, and Jane says, "Yeah, I bet you want me to put some coins in it, right, and pay you?" And the lady says, "Of course." I gave her a shilling. She put it into an old stocking foot, which she took out of her pocket, and having tied it round and returned it, she told me to hold out my hand. I did. She approached her face to the palm and pored over it without touching it. "It is too fine," said she. "I can make nothing of such a hand as that, almost without lines. Besides, what is in a palm? Destiny is not written there." "I believe you," said I. "No," she continued, "it is in the face, on the forehead, about the eyes, in the eyes themselves, in the lines of the mouth. Kneel and lift up your head." "Ah, now you are coming to reality," said I, as I obeyed her. "I shall begin to put some faith in you presently." I knelt within half a yard of her. She stirred the fire so that a ripple of light broke from the disturbed coal. The glare, however, as she sat, only threw her face into deeper shadow. Mine it illumined. I wonder with what feelings you came to me tonight, she said, when she had examined me a while. I wonder what thoughts are busy in your heart during all the hours you sit in yonder room with the fine people flitting before you like shapes in a magic lantern. Just as little sympathetic communion passing between you and them as if they were really mere shadows of human forms and not the actual substance. I feel tired often, sleepy sometimes, but seldom sad. Then you have some secret hope to buoy you up and please you with whispers of the future. Not I. The utmost I hope is to save money enough out of my earnings to set up a school someday in a little house rented by myself. So we find out one of Jane's goals, that she would like to open a school herself and use the money she saved up from being a governess to do so. A mean nutriment for the spirit to exist on, and sitting in that window seat, you see I know your habits. You have learned them from the servants. Ah, you think yourself sharp. Well, perhaps I have. To speak truth, I have an acquaintance with one of them, Mrs. Poole. I started to my feet when I heard the name. You have you, thought I? There is diablerie in the business after all, then. Don't be alarmed, continued the strange being. She is a safe hand, is Miss Poole. Close and quiet, anyone may repose confidence in her. But, as I was saying, sitting in that window seat, you think of nothing but your future school? Have you no present interest in any of the company who occupy the sofas and chairs before you? Is there not one face you study, one figure whose movements you follow with at least curiosity? I like to observe all the faces and all the figures. But do you never single one from the rest, or it may be two? I do frequently, when the gestures or looks of a pair seem telling a tale. It amuses me to watch them. What tales do you like best to hear? Oh, I have not much choice. They generally run on the same theme, courtship, and promise to end in the same catastrophe, marriage. So Jane's being a little sarcastic there, saying that she will pay attention to two people in particular if there's something interesting going on, and the woman asks her, what tale do you like best to hear? So what kind of plot line, what two people are you most interested in observing? And she says, oh, it's all about courtship and marriage, blah, blah, blah. And do you like that monotonous theme? Positively, I don't care about it. It is nothing to me. Nothing to you, when a lady, young and full of life and health, charming with beauty and endowed with the gifts of rank and fortune, sits and smiles in the eyes of a gentleman you, you know, and perhaps think well of. I don't know the gentlemen here. I have scarcely interchanged a syllable with one of them, and as to thinking well of them, I consider some respectable and stately and middle-aged, and others young, dashing, handsome, and lively, but certainly they are all at liberty to be the recipients of whose smiles they please, without my feeling disposed to consider the transaction of any moment to me. So, the woman asks her, does this really mean nothing to you, even if one guy looks at a particular lady, and Jane says, I don't really know the men here, doesn't really matter to me, and everybody can like who they choose. You don't know the gentleman here? You have not exchanged a syllable with one of them? Will you say that of the master of the house? He is not at home. A profound remark, a most ingenious quibble. He went to Millcote this morning and will be back here tonight or tomorrow. Does that circumstance exclude him from the list of your acquaintance? Blot him, as it were, out of existence? No, but I can scarcely see what Mr. Rochester has to do with the theme you had introduced. I was talking of ladies smiling in the eyes of gentlemen, and of late so many smiles have been shed into Mr. Rochester's eyes that they overflow like two cups filled above the brim. You have never remarked that? Mr. Rochester has a right to enjoy the society of his guests. No question about his right, but have you never observed that, of all the tales told here about matrimony, Mr. Rochester has been favored with the most lively and the most continuous? So, this woman's kind of directly addressing the Mr. Rochester Blanche issue. The eagerness of the listener quickens the tongue of a narrator. I said this rather to myself than to the gypsy, whose strange talk, voice, manner, had by this time wrapped me in a kind of dream. One unexpected sentence came from her lips after another, till I got involved in a web of mystification, and wondered what unseen spirit had been sitting for weeks by my heart, watching its workings and taking record of every pulse. So, Jane is starting to, even though she's expressing still skepticism, she is starting to put stock in some of what this woman says and believe in some of her fortune-telling abilities. And she wonders if someone has been or something has been observing her feelings. eagerness of a listener, repeated she. Yes, Mr. Rochester has sat by the hour, his ear inclined to the fascinating lips that took such delight in their task of communicating. And Mr. Rochester was so willing to receive and looked so grateful for the pastime given him. You have noticed this? Grateful? I cannot remember detecting gratitude in his face. Detecting? You have analyzed, then, and what did you detect if not gratitude? I said nothing. You have seen love, have you not? And, looking forward, you have seen him married, and beheld his bride happy. Humph, not exactly. Your witch's skill is rather at fault sometimes. What the devil have you seen, then? Never mind, I came here to inquire, not to confess. Is it known that Mr. Rochester is to be married? Yes, and to the beautiful Miss Ingram. Shortly? Appearances would warrant that conclusion, and no doubt, though in an audacity that wants chastising out of you, who seem to question it, they will be a superlatively happy pair. He must love such a handsome, noble, witty, accomplished lady, and probably she loves him, or if not his person, at least his purse. I know she considers the Rochester estate eligible to the last degree, though, God pardon me, I told her something on that point about an hour ago which made her look wondrous grave. The corners of her mouth fell half an inch. I would advise her black-vised suitor to look out. If another comes with a longer or clearer rent roll, he's dished. So now this woman says, she doesn't know about this Mr. Rochester Blanche Ingram relationship. She says that Blanche seems more, it seems like Mr. Rochester likes Blanche, but Blanche seems more interested in Mr. Rochester's money, his purse, rather than his personality. She thinks Mr. Rochester's estate, so his house and his money, is very good. And then apparently this woman also told her that, there may be a problem with Mr. Rochester's wealth and his money issues. And then this made her mouth fall half an inch, so Blanche is not so smiley after hearing this. So this may be a little bit of what made her so pretend to be so indifferent, but actually be a little bit upset by what she heard this woman say. And this woman also says that if someone comes along who has more money and more resources than Mr. Rochester will be promptly dumped by Blanche. But, Mother, I did not come to hear Mr. Rochester's fortune. I came to hear my own, and you have told me nothing of it. Your fortune is yet doubtful. When I examined your face, one trait contradicted another. Chance has meted you a measure of happiness, that I know. I knew it before I came here this evening. She has laid it carefully on one side for you. I saw her do it. It depends on yourself to stretch out your hand and take it up. But whether you will do so is the problem I study. Kneel again on the rug. Don't keep me long, the fire scorches me. I knelt. She did not stoop towards me, but only gazed, leaning back in her chair. She began muttering. The flame flickers in the eye shines like dew, it looks soft and full of feeling. It smiles at my jargon, it is susceptible. Impression follows impression through its clear sphere. Where it ceases to smile, it is sad. An unconscious lassitude weighs in the lid. That signifies melancholy resulting from loneliness. It turns from me. It will not suffer further scrutiny. It seems to deny, by a mocking glance, the truth of the discoveries I have already made, to disown the charge both of sensibility and chagrin. Its pride and reserve only confirm me in my opinion. The eye is favorable. So she's kind of analyzing Jane, looking at her eyes. She says she seems a little sad, that there's a sense of loneliness to her, and then Jane turns away when she mentions that. So it seems like Jane is trying to not own up to the fact that she may truly be lonely. As to the truth that delights me at times in laughter, it is disposed to impart all that the brain conceives, though I dare say it will be silent on much the heart experiences. Mobile and flexible, it was never intended to be compressed in the eternal silence of solitude. It is a mouth which should speak much and smile often, and have human affection for its interlocutor. That feature, too, is propitious. So apparently Jane's mouth looks like it should be, like it's made to have pleasant conversation, and that it should not be lonely. I see no enemy to a fortune issue but in the brow, and that brow professes to say, I can live alone if self-respect and circumstances require me to do so. I need not sell my soul to buy bliss. I have an inward treasure born within me, which can keep me alive if all extraneous delight should be withheld, or offered only at a price I cannot afford to give. The forehead declares, reason sits firm and holds the reins, and she will not let the feelings burst away and hurry her to wild chasms. The passions may rage furiously, like true heathens as they are, and the desires may imagine all sorts of vain things, but judgment shall still have the last word in every argument, and the casting vote in every decision. Strong wind, earthquake, shock, and fire may pass by, but I shall follow the guiding of that still small voice which interprets the dictates of conscience. So, looking at Jane's forehead, apparently this woman can tell that she's a moral person, so she's going to act on what's right, even if that may make her sort of isolated and alone, and also that Jane has a good sense of reason, so she's not going to let her emotions carry her away. She will follow logic. Well said, forehead, your declaration shall be respected. I have formed my plans, right plans I deem them, and in them I have attended to the claims of conscience, the counsels of reasons. I know how soon youth would fade and bloom perish if, in the cup of bliss offered, but one dreg of shame or one flavor of remorse were detected. And I do not want sacrifice, sorrow, dissolution. Such is not my taste. I wish to foster, not to blight, to earn gratitude, not to wring tears of blood. No, nor of brine. My harvest must be in smiles and endearments, in sweet... That will do. I think I rave in a kind of exquisite delirium. I should wish now to protract this moment ad infinitum, but I dare not. That just means to infinity, so the person wants this moment to go on forever. So far I have governed myself thoroughly. I have acted as I inwardly swore I would act, but further might try me beyond my strength. Rise, Miss Eyre, leave me. The play is played out. Where was I? Did I wake or sleep? Had I been dreaming? Did I dream still? The old woman's voice had changed. Her accent, her gesture, and all were familiar to me as my own face in a glass, and the speech of my own tongue. I got up, but did not go. I looked, I stirred the fire, and I looked again. But she drew her bonnet and her bandage closer about her face, and again beckoned me to depart. The flame illuminated her hand stretched out. Roused now and on the alert for discoveries, I at once noticed that hand. It was no more the withered limb of an elf than my own. It was a round, supple member with smooth fingers symmetrically turned. A broad ring flashed on the little figure, and stooping forward, I looked at it, and saw a gem I had seen 100 times before. Again I looked at the face, which was no longer turned from me. On the contrary, the bonnet was doffed, the bandage displaced, the head advanced. Well, Jane, do you know me? Asked the familiar voice. Only take off the red cloak, sir, and then... But the string is in a knot. Help me. Break it, sir. There then, off ye lendings, and Mr. Rochester stepped out of his disguise. Which means that he dressed up as an old woman and told everyone's fortunes just for fun? I don't know. Told you the not saying he was Mr. Rochester before was not the strangest thing he did. Now, sir, what a strange idea. Understatement of the 19th century. But well carried out, eh? Do you think so? Don't you think so? With the ladies you must have managed well, but not with you. You did not act the character of a gypsy with me. What character did I act? My own? No, some unaccountable one. In short, I believe you've been trying to draw me out, or in. You have been talking nonsense to me to make me talk nonsense. It is scarcely fair, sir. Do you forgive me, Jane? I cannot tell till I have thought it all over. If on reflection I find I have fallen into no great absurdity, I shall try to forgive you, but it was not right. Oh, you have been very correct, very careful, very sensible. I reflected and thought on the whole I had. It was a comfort, but indeed, had I been on my guard almost from the beginning, I had been on my guard almost from the beginning of the interview. Something of masquerade I suspected. I knew gypsies and fortune-tellers did not express themselves as this seeming old woman had expressed herself. Besides, I had noted her feigned voice, her anxiety to conceal her features, but my mind had been running on Grace Poole, that living enigma, that mystery of mysteries, as I considered her. I had never thought of Mr. Rochester. Well, said he, what are you musing about? What does that grave smile signify? Wonder and self-congratulation, sir. I have your permission to retire now, I suppose? No, stay a moment, and tell me what the people in the drawing-room yonder are doing. Discussing the gypsy, I dare say. Sit down, let me hear what they said about me. He's like a little kid who's like dressed up for Halloween or something, like what they say about me, he wants to know. It's all very strange. I'd better not stay long, sir. It must be near 11 o'clock. Oh, are you aware, Mr. Rochester, that a stranger has arrived here since you left this morning? A stranger? No, who can it be? I expected no one. Is he gone? No, he said he had known you long, and that he could take the liberty of installing himself here till you returned. The devil he did. Did he give his name? His name is Mason, sir, and he comes from the West Indies, from Spanish Town in Jamaica, I think. Mr. Rochester was standing near me. He had taken my hand as if to lead me to a chair. As I spoke, he gave my wrist a convulsive grip. The smile on his lips froze. Apparently a spasm caught his breath. Mason, the West Indies, he said, in the tone one might fancy a speaking automaton to announce its words. Automaton would be a robot. Mason, the West Indies, he reiterated, and went over the syllables 3 times, growing in the intervals of speaking, whiter than ashes. He hardly seemed to know what he was doing. Do you feel ill, sir? I inquired. Jane, I gotta blow, Jane, he staggered. Oh, lean on me, sir. Jane, you offered me your shoulder once before. Let me have it now. Yes, sir, yes, and my arm. He sat down and made me sit beside him. Holding my hand in both his own, he chafed it, gazing on me at the same time with the most troubled and dreary look. My little friend, said he, I wish I were in a quiet island with only you, and trouble and danger and hideous recollections removed from me. Can I help you, sir? I'd give my life to serve you. Jane, if aid is wanted, I'll seek it at your hands, I promise you that. Thank you, sir. Tell me what to do. I'll try at least to do it. Fetch me now, Jane, a glass of wine from the dining room. They will be at supper there, and tell me if Mason is with them and what he is doing. I went. I found the party in the dining room at supper, as Mr. Rochester had said. They were not seated at table. The supper was arranged on the sideboard. Each had taken what he chose, and they stood about here and there in groups, their plates and glasses in their hands. Everyone seemed in high glee. Laughter and conversation were general and animated. Mr. Mason stood near the fire, talking to Colonel and Mrs. Dent, and appeared as merry as any of them. I filled a wine glass. I saw Miss Ingram watch me frowningly as I did so. She thought I was taking the liberty, I dare say, and I returned to the library. Mr. Rochester's extreme pallor had disappeared, and he looked once more firm and stern. He took the glass from my hand. Here is to your health, ministrant spirit, said he. He swallowed the contents and returned it to me. What are they doing, Jane? Laughing and talking, sir. They don't look grave and mysterious as if they had heard something strange. Not at all. They are full of jests and gaiety. And Mason? He was laughing too. If all these people came in a body and spat at me, what would you do, Jane? Turn them out of the room, sir, if I could. He half smiled. But if I were to go to them and they only looked at me coldly and whispered sneeringly amongst each other and then dropped off and left me one by one, what then? Would you go with them? I rather think not, sir. I should have more pleasure in staying with you. To comfort me? Yes, sir, to comfort you as well as I could. And if they laid you under a ban for adhering to me, I probably should know nothing about their ban, and if I did, I should care nothing about it. Then you could dare censure for my sake. I could dare it for the sake of any friend who deserves my adherence, as you, I am sure, do. Go back now into the room, step quietly up to Mason, and whisper in his ear that Mr. Rochester is come and wishes to see him. Show him in here and then leave me. Yes, sir. I did his behest. The company all stared at me as I passed straight among them. I sought Mr. Mason, delivered the message, and preceded him from the room. I ushered him into the library, and then I went upstairs. At a late hour, after I had been in bed some time, I heard the visitors repair to their chambers. I distinguished Mr. Rochester's voice, and I heard him say, "This way, Mason, this is your room." He spoke cheerfully. The gay tones set my heart at ease. I was soon asleep. So Mr. Rochester seems very concerned about Mr. Mason being here. He asked Jane some interesting questions, like if everyone hated him and exiled him, what would she do? She said she would stay and help him. They wouldn't really care for all these other people not liking him. So yeah, pretty strange chapter. And that's chapter 19.